Hello again, Internet. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. So we have a new property this weekend. This is in Valencia County. This is 2.75 acres priced at $5,800. These 2.75 acres, as you can see from the headline, sit in essentially the shadows of the Manzano Mountains. And they are actually a combination of 11 quarter-acre lots, 11 adjacent quarter-acre lots. So if you come down here to the table, where we typically have all the information, you'll notice this unsightly hodgepodge of numbers. What do these things mean? Well, if you buy this property, you are actually buying lots 22 to 32. And these are their corresponding parcel numbers as well as tax code numbers. So any research you need to do on these are the numbers that you would use to do that research. Anyway, let's bring this up on a map. As with all of our listings, we have latitude and longitude here. Click on the center coordinates, and it will bring up where the property is. So, first off, let's show you which 11 lots these are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. This is not a lot that one can own. So there's nobody who owns that lot. There's nobody who can own that lot. Whatever the case, we're selling these as adjacent parcels because I pretty much assume anyone who buys up the entire eastern block of a street, and don't be confused, that's what this plat is indicating this should one day be, is a street, will probably also want the southeastern corner of that area as well. All right. Now, I like this property for a number of reasons. The big one here is location, location, location. So this sits at the easternmost end of Valencia County. And what that means is that it butts up right against the Manzano Mountains. So, for instance, if we go to satellite view here, as I have just done, hold the control key down and wiggle our mouse, you can get a sense of where this is and what the views are like out here. Now, the first thing that I like is that this property sits on a bit of a hillside here, a bit of a slope. So you're going to have nice views. You're going to be up above, well, there's nothing out there right now, but pretend for 2 seconds this area gets built up in the next 10 or 15 years. You're going to be up above your neighbors here. And if you go this way, you can see exactly how the valley sort of expands out underneath you. So I like that. More to the point, however, you can see what kind of views you're going to have of the mountains over here. And I think it is... hang on, my mouse is doing weird things. I think it's quite nice if you can build a home out here and have this much land to yourself and be... right here in the foothills. You could go camping, you could go hiking, you could just walk the trails, or don't do any of that and just wake up every day to these beautiful sunrises that crest up over the mountains. In fact, if you come to our photo gallery down here, you can get a sense of what living this close to the mountains is like, what kind of views you would have, etc. Let me actually go down to the last couple of photos. I think they show it off a little bit better. So yes, this would be like a view from the property, this, etc. So I think this is really nice. Anyway, back to the location. Now, the other thing, hang on, that looks terrible. Let's get out of that. The other thing that I like about this location is that if you look here at the plat, what you will see is you have all of these blocks here that could potentially be homes one day, but there's nothing here. There's nothing here, which means if you buy this property and you build a house here, 10 years from now, there's not going to be a developer who comes in and puts up a bunch of condos here. Nobody's going to build a Walmart here. Whatever you build on this land, whatever views you have today, you will have for the rest of eternity. And as the land or the home that you build gets passed down to the next generation, they too will have these views. So I think that's the big selling point of this property. Proximity to the mountains, these great views, and the fact that they will remain unobstructed for years and years to come. Now, let me also say this. This is another big thing about this property. So, I believe I said this is part of the Rio del Oro subdivision. This subdivision is another one of these where a developer came in back in the 50s and 60s, bought up thousands of acres of land and chopped them all up into smaller parcels and resold them. Rio del Oro goes from approximately over here to... well, basically, you just looked at the easternmost parcels of Rio del Oro. So from the mountains all the way over to here, from roughly down here to roughly up here. When they chopped all of these properties up, they chopped them up into quarter-acre parcels. So I don't list a lot of properties in Rio del Oro. One of the reasons is because you can't find a lot of people who have more than one quarter-acre parcel. And as a lot of you who watch this channel know, quarter-acre parcel is it's difficult to build on because of numerous environmental restrictions that the state has. It's not impossible to build on, but it's difficult to build on. So point being, you'd want to find 3 adjacent quarter-acre parcels, and it's rare, it's unique, it's exceptional to find anybody who has 3, much less 11. So that to me is another huge selling point of these properties, is you're going to have more land than most all the people who eventually acquire property out here. Now, let's talk about this. So this area is zoned planned development, as you can see up here under zoning, planned development. If you click on this PDF, it's going to bring up an excerpt from the county zoning ordinance where you can read more about what planned development means. My takeaway, so this is 6 pages, my takeaway from these 6 pages is that it essentially means we don't want people who come out and build a shack on one property. We want to encourage development and a certain aesthetic uniformity. So this area, we hope, will be a place where developers come in, buy up a bunch of land, and put, you know, little mini subdivisions within it, gated communities, so on and so forth. That hasn't happened yet. Of course, anybody who's familiar with Valencia County knows. Let's go to satellite view. Anyone who's familiar with Valencia County knows that there's a heavy concentration of populations and homes out here. There's, you know, some of it out here. You can see it kind of building out toward the mountains, and there's, you know, some out here like this, but for the most part, what you have between here and here are a bajillion quarter-acre parcels owned by a bajillion separate owners. And I think, you know, there will eventually the day will come where developers will start to reach out to those people and try to buy the parcels from them, try to buy 5 or 10 acres at a time so they can, you know, build homes and whatnot. And then eventually, as Belen and as Los Lunas expands, as Albuquerque expands southward, I think this area is going to be, you know, it's going to be ripe for development within the years to come. So anyway, I think this property is a good one for anyone who wants to build a home out here, wants to build a, you know, a really nice home site, have great views, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's also an ideal situation for an investor who, you know, like a buy and hold type thing, where I'm going to buy these and I'm going to flip these maybe pretty quickly, maybe you could do it pretty quickly, or you wait till X years down the line once development starts to encroach upon this area and then sell these to a developer who can turn these 11 lots into, you know, essentially 11 luxury homes, or 10 or 9 luxury homes for the kind of, you know, discerning buyer, someone who could afford a, you know, whatever high-end house is in Valencia County, you know, high 300s, low 400,000s, and they want those views. They want those views of the mountains. So it's good as a home site. It's good as an investment property. Either one. Once again, by the way, if anybody has questions about zoning, you know, here at our offices, we're pretty conversant on zoning. Doesn't mean we know everything. And quite frankly, I would rather you call the county and get the, you know, the most authoritative answers are going to come from the county, which is why we put the Valencia County Planning and Zoning phone number and website down here, so you can do that research on your own. And I, you know, sometimes you call the county on a Monday, you get person A, you ask them a question, they tell you the answer is this. You call back on Tuesday, you get somebody else, they tell you the answer is that. If you're going to get the wrong information, I'd rather you get it directly from the county rather than from me or anyone here at our offices. So anyway, I think I've said enough about this property. The location is the big thing. You know, the other thing I should mention, by the way, is when my photographer went out there are certain subdivisions in Valencia County where it's hard to drive around. This one, it's really easy to drive around, apparently. The roads are very well maintained out there. It's probably part of the whole planned development way that area is zoned. But he told me that he was able to drive about 50 miles an hour from, you know, the nearest point. Hang on, let me go back to the map here. He said from Valencia High School, it's about a 10-mile drive, and he said he was able to do about 50 miles an hour that whole way. I think Valencia High School is over here. So yeah, let's do measurements. How do we do that? Right-click the button, click measure distance, then go over here, Valencia High School, about 10 miles. So straight shot, easy shot, roads are well maintained, and you know, the only thing I would tell you about these properties is that they don't have power out here. There's no power lines out here. So if you do want to build out here, you're going to have to contact the local power company, ask them what it's going to cost to get some sort of power line, power pole out there. You know, there's a quarry up here. They probably have power out here. That's about a mile away, I think. So anyway, those are calls that I would make if I was planning on building. I just want to mention, we currently have a 10-acre property in inventory that we're selling for $25,000. We currently have a 5-acre property we're selling for $2,500. If anybody's looking at this and saying, why is this property so much more expensive on a price per acre basis than those others? It's a couple reasons. And, honestly, one of them is there was a huge amount of back taxes on each of these 11 lots that we had to catch up before we purchased the property. So as we could sell it to you free and clear of any encumbrances. So just catching up that large amount of back taxes really put this over price range that I would normally like to list it at. I will, however, tell you, because of what I mentioned earlier about the sparsity of adjacent acreage in this area, I don't think the price is unreasonable, we'll say. Anyway, all right, so that's my spiel. If you guys are interested in purchasing this, just click the Buy Now button here. The easiest way to do this is come to this page. You're going to enter the information that we'll need for the deed, your name, address, tax address, where the treasurer is sending the bill. Click the next button, go to the next page, enter credit and debit card information. Once we see that you have bought the property, we'll reach out to you. We'll say thanks for buying the property, and then we'll send you an email with a copy of the new deed. We're going to ask you to approve it. We're going to say make sure we spelled your name, got your address right, make sure there's nobody else you want on this, spouse, sibling, children, whatever. Once you say it's good, we're going to sign it, we're going to notarize it, we're going to mail it off to the county. Within about 3 weeks, the deed will be in your hand because it has to go to the county first. But as far as I am concerned, once you give us money, go out there, please, and enjoy the land. If you would like to close on this a different way, if you're incredulous, skeptical, if you will, about giving money to some guy online and hoping that he'll do something, just come up here to the How It Works Buying From Us page, and you can read about the different ways that we can accommodate the purchasing of a property. Okay? Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. If this was helpful, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you can get the latest and greatest videos from us, me talking, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks again.